All right, so we talked about lists. Now let's talk about maps, which are essentially dictionary. And always remember, dictionaries are key value pairs entities. Okay, I went ahead and created a new project here just to simplify our learning. I'm gonna get rid of all this stuff, as you know, always. That's what we do. Okay, so key values pair. So how do we create a map? Well, simply to create a map, there's a few ways in which we can do. For instance, I can go and say var, and I can say winners. Okay, say equal. Notice what's going to happen here. Now I'm going to put the braces like this, which means inside here I can then start constructing our key value pair, right? So key value as such. So the first key, in this case, I want it to be a string to be the key. Say first, right? Notice then I have colon to signify this first points to whatever value I'm going to add here. And I can go ahead and say the value first is going to be awarded to Bill, put comma, and then second, colon again, is going to be awarded to George. And I'm going to say third is going to be awarded to Bond. Now, because this is a statement, I need to actually finish with a semicolon like that. Okay, so now winners is indeed our map, right? Because we're mapping first to Bill, second to George, third to Bond. Okay, now for us to access, for instance, what second points to or maps to, we can go ahead and say print. Say winners. Remember that this is still based on lists. We put square brackets and such, and then we pass here an object. In this case, it's going to be our second key, right? Which means now we're going to go to second key. It's going to give us George. Let's run. Say it's George. Now, for us to be able to iterate through a map, it's a little bit different than just put all in for loop, which it can be done, but that kind of defeats the purpose. What we're going to do here, I'm going to go below here. I'm just going to go ahead and say winners. Okay, this is our map. There is already a function called for each, the dot. Look at this, for each. Right? So here what happens is that we're passing the key and value as strings in this case, and then we're going to go ahead and be able to then spit out the values depending on what is it that we want to spit out or we want to iterate through to show. Okay, dot for each, there we go. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to enclose inside of this for each. There's a few things we're going to do. I'm going to just put it all in one line here. I'm going to go ahead and say pass K for the key and V. And then I'm going to use this expression there and say print, and just print K. Get rid of this F there, okay? Let me put it all in one line so it's not too confusing. That's what we're doing. So we're passing key K and V. This could be anything else we want, right? Could be D and V or A and A, whatever else. But this just tells us there's the key, there's the value. Now we're printing here is whatever the key is pointing to. It's not like we're printing the key. Does it make sense? So whatever we're passing here, we're saying okay, print whatever the key or whatever this value is pointing to. In this case, key. So we want the value. Run this real quick. Look at that. George, first, second, and third. Okay? That's a very fast way for us to get values. Now, the other way we can do this, okay, there's different ways to do this. There are times that we just want to get keys, right? There is this method. So we can go ahead and say, for instance, var keys is equal to winners dot get, in this case, keys, getting the keys. And if you say print keys, guess what? It's going to print all the keys. Say first, second, and third, which are exactly what we have here. First, second, and third keys. Right? If we want to say var values, well, we can say winners. That values. There we go. Say print values like that. I'm going to say print values. Let's see what's going to happen. And there you go. Right? Those are the values. There we go. So we have a slightly different way for us to actually retrieve keys and values from our maps. And like we discussed before, we can also create a map which has the keys as integers, or the values could also be integers. So in this case here, we just can't mix and match. A side has to only have one type. So in this case, I'm going to call this second, just to differentiate. I'm going to go ahead and say 1 colon is going to be Apollo. Number 2 is going to be something. 3 is going to be another, and so forth. Okay, let's finalize our expression. So again, it's the same thing. I could have gone the other way around. Say copy here, and say, for instance, third. And now I'm going to go and say winter 3. Autumn, I'm gonna say 1. Spring 4. In fact, we can actually give the same values, but notice we can't have the same keys, right? For values, we can actually repeat the values, but for keys we can't. Why? Because we can have the same key with the same value, which then will make no sense, right? If we had another autumn here, notice we have a problem. 2 keys in a map literal can't be equal, because then if this was accepted, then if we said autumn, let's say this was a different number, then which one would we get? 1 or 5? See the problem? So those are little things that we should know, and so forth. So that's the idea here. And of course, we can do the same thing we did here to get our values and keys and so forth. All right, so we've learned a lot here. So go ahead and play around with this concept again, like we always do. And whenever in doubt, I would invite you to go to dartlang.org and look at the language, the Dart language part, read more about other things that you can do. But I just wanted to introduce to you the maps and lists and how to create them, iterate through, and so forth. This is going to come in handy as we progress in our studies and eventually start building Android and iOS apps using the Flutter framework. All right, perfect. Thank you, and I'll see you next.